Patients in our Hartford Healthcare facilities right now, three in Bacchus Hospital. Charlotte Hungerford has one patient. Hartford Hospital has 14 patients. Mid-City Medical Center has 2 patients. St. Vincent Medical Center has 8 patients. Hospital Center Connecticut has 3 patients. Wyndham has 1 patient. And 72 patients are managed in the community network. Now, we've talked about it for several times, but just a reminder, we expect some amount of hospitalization of COVID patients going through the summer and in the fall as well, and we're seeing this consistent, that number. We are obviously seeing a very slow decline in the remaining number. We had about 40 something last week, 32 today. We will continue to see this range for several weeks to come by. You know, it's a positive sign. The decline in hospitalization is one core metric to look into as our society is moving, and I think as we've faced in Connecticut with more than 40-something thousand cases and 4,200 or so mortality. Still a sobering number, but these numbers should give a comfort right now. We're moving in the right direction. I want to share some other stats with you. As of 2 days ago, Hartford Healthcare had managed 2,061 patients in an inpatient facility, many more managed in our emergency rooms and our community centers and other areas, but in the acute facility, 2,061 2 days ago. We've recovered obviously more than 1,430 patients across the system. During this journey, we've been very carefully watching as how our colleagues across the Hartford Healthcare, the 30,000 strong people, how are they affected? And we've been monitoring the number very carefully. We've had 720 colleagues of ours cumulatively infected during this process since the beginning of March. This is a sobering number, but still incredible to see the 30,000 people in cumulative work of about 2% infection rate. A lot of them are community acquired. These numbers include our field services, our community network individuals, including IT services and a variety of other areas as well. It's just not clinical as well. We're really proud that we've offered more than 72,000 tests across the system, across the state of Connecticut. As you know, our state of Connecticut has 370-something thousand testing, 72,000 contributed by Hartford Healthcare in partnership with Quest and Jackson Lab and other areas. Our community outreach has been outstanding and reaching out to the most vulnerable and especially the areas where the access could be difficult as we continue to focus on that. We're really proud of our virtual health infrastructure we have built on during this time, as Dr. Zweibel has shared. From where we started, now we have more than 193,000 patients who have benefited from accessing our healthcare services through virtual health, and this continues to grow. And this is a really remarkable number. For a short time, we were able to get to this number. You know, another proud moment was that, if you remember, the Hartford Healthcare was one of the first one in the state of Connecticut, and probably in one of the regions, many of the regions here, to establish what we call as a COVID call center, a 24-hour call centers manned by our good nurses and physicians, 24 hours, and that evolved into helping our testing capabilities deployed across the system, also evolved into supporting the behavioral health need for the community. So far, we've taken 92,000 calls in that number. That's a remarkable number. These are the individuals who are sitting 24 hours at the phone, helping our community, helping the needs of our society here for anything COVID or non-COVID related. We're really proud of this, the work we've been able to do for the community. The reason I'm reciting some of those numbers is today is our last media briefing, and for all the work we collectively have done, I think it's something to be proud of despite the number where we are right now. And I especially want to thank media, because I think your presence every single day, you're listening to us and asking really curious questions and trying to push out the information which is real, which connects the hospital system like ours to the community in a real time, has been quite meaningful to us, and I hope for the society as well and the community as well. So you played an important part in carrying this message at this time. We are incredibly grateful for that as well. But I wanted to end the conversation today in a different note, one is to reminder, as we are watching this disease very closely, and as things change in our community, in our society, in our country, we will come back and we'll start the discussion again. We will be available, obviously, through our media partners in other areas to answer any questions, to be available to reach out to the community. But at the same time, we do want to make sure that you understand that there is a hope in the horizon. There is a work being done by good scientists across the globe. And I have a pleasure of introducing my colleague, Dr. Stephanie Wright. Stephanie Wright is our Chief of Infectious Disease at Hartford Hospital, and she has been incredible individual who has really guided our thinking, management, and planning on the COVID front, especially for Hartford Healthcare and Hartford Hospital. Stephanie is going to be talking about some of the work which is happening around the world on the vaccine front. She's a tremendous wealth of knowledge, and I'm so pleased to have Stephanie with us today. Stephanie?
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here today. And I'd like to speak a little bit about vaccines, which I think are a very positive development that's ongoing regarding COVID-19. There are about 150 to 170 COVID-19 vaccines that have begun in development since COVID-19 first started in around January of this year as the pandemic. And at this time, at least 10 of those vaccines are in clinical trials, where right now they're being administered to human beings to determine whether they can prevent infection and whether they can do that safely. So we've come a long way in a very short time due to the many efforts of many brilliant scientists and researchers all over the world. Vaccination could be a welcome addition to the SARS-CoV toolkit we have, because vaccines can teach the immune system to attack a pathogen without subjecting people to the severe manifestations of the illness and possible death, as we know can occur, unfortunately, with COVID-19, that occur with natural infection. A focus of many of the COVID-19 vaccines has been the spike protein of the virus. The spike protein is on the surface of the SARS-CoV-2 virus, and it engages another protein that's on human cells called the ACE2 protein or receptor. And when the spike protein interacts with that protein on human cells, it facilitates infection of the cells where the virus can replicate and cause disease. So a number of the vaccines in development are aimed at exposing the body to the spike protein and then having the immune system recognize the spike protein as foreign or as an antigen, and then the immune system develops a response with specialized white blood cells that are aimed at either destroying the virus or causing other white blood cells to produce antibodies that will block infection by the virus when the body is exposed to the real pathogen. So I think I'd like to stop there and say that while we have a lot more work to do in terms of coming up with a vaccine, there's a lot of positive work that's been going on, and no doubt all of these efforts will lead to a greatly increased understanding of SARS-CoV-2 and vaccination strategies for the future. And I think I'll bring Dr. Kumar back up again.
Thank you, Stephanie. That was wonderful. I'd like to make one other comment. Actually, I forgot to mention earlier on. During these times, and especially in the last several weeks, one of the challenging aspects of our healthcare delivery has been to see patients who have delayed their care, who put off their heart failure management, who really have suffered through some symptoms, have not come back to seek care. And we are seeing those individuals with delayed care coming back to emergency rooms and other care area. And we're seeing sicker patients at this time. So I really want to make one more plea. Hospitals have done, I like to believe across the state and across the system, Hartford Healthcare for sure, done a tremendous amount of work so that individuals remain safe. When you come to our place, we are making sure that you remain as safe as possible from the COVID-related issues. So do seek care, do come back, do call your primary healthcare physician, to connect with your members, because delaying the care is not good. This is going to cause a significant morbidity and mortality over the time. So if you have symptoms, if you're concerned about, if you put off some routine testing, mammograms and colonoscopies and whatever have you, please come back. Please reach out to talk to your doctor. We're seeing delayed presentation, and it's not good when we could prevent some of the worst outcomes at this time. So with that, I'll open for any questions at this time.
Hi, good morning. It's Bridget from the Republican American.
Hi, Bridget.
I wanted to ask you, the kind of obvious question is, with all of these vaccines racing to get to people in a very mass way, when is this possibly going to happen that we have a result that we can administer to the mass population?
Dr. Wright?
Well, that's a great question. I think that these trials are progressing. A lot of the phase 1 trials where they've given the vaccine to people to measure for safety of the vaccine and the ability to produce an immune response have occurred with a number of these vaccines. As I mentioned, at least 10 of them. And a number of these are going on to phase 2 trials in which they expand the delivery of the vaccine to folks that are not only healthy, as they use in phase 1 trials, but folks with underlying conditions and of all ages that are at risk for the viral infection. And then the third stage, and at least one vaccine is going into stage 3 trials this summer, will deliver the vaccine to a large number of people in the realm of 30,000 people of a number of ages, and develop and decide whether that vaccine is effective. There are a lot of steps here that need to be looked at and always followed to see that the vaccine is remaining safe and that the vaccine is producing the desired immune effect on the immune system. It is possible, if all goes well, the vaccine is immunogenic, it's safe. It is feasible that possibly by early 2021 there might be a vaccine available. Again, a large amount of work needs to be done, but it is really being done at a rapidly accelerated pace, the fastest that any vaccine development has been undertaken.
And a follow-up to that, are all of these various different 10 maybe on the final acceptance line, are they related? Are these different drugs related? And what happens if one experimental phase you find, okay, this isn't working, let's go back to the beginning? Are you able to go back to the other 9, or how does that work?
Well, the beauty of having many vaccines, and I mentioned that there are at least 10 that are in clinical trials. The beauty of having many vaccines, and there are 150 to 170 in development, is that they have slightly different ways of delivering the spike protein, and so you're looking at a variety of ways of getting the body exposed to the foreign spike protein that can produce an immune response. And if one doesn't work out, hopefully another one or others will. I mean, ideally, it would be good if several of the vaccines worked out, because you're looking at needing to produce billions of doses of vaccine in a pandemic situation to provide protection to people from natural infection.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, this is Nicole from WNPR. I had a couple questions for Dr. Wright. In regards to the vaccines, is it correct in saying that these types of vaccines, the ones in clinical trials, the estimated dates for possibly getting an approved one in early 2021, even in the spring, that's a very streamlined, that's a very fast development for a vaccine. They usually take several years. So what's going to be the responsibility or the role of physicians and the healthcare systems to convince people that this is going to be a safe vaccine to take when it's available?
Yeah. Well, the results of the trials, the phase 2 and phase 3 trials that continually look at the immune response being produced by the vaccine and continually are looking at safety, and the largest trials being in phase 3 with, say, 30,000 or more people in a trial, are aimed at finding problems with the vaccine that would be safety issues that you'd have to use the vaccine in a large number of people to pick up. So those trials and the results should speak for themselves in terms of the safety of the vaccine and the efficacy of it. I think if the physicians will have a responsibility, and other healthcare providers, of looking at that data and discussing it with their patients. And I think the media also plays a huge and phenomenally important role in making sure the any issues with safety and effectiveness are understood and brought out for the population to be able to evaluate.
No, thank you. And the other question I had was, we still don't know, right, that this is something that you can get a vaccine and it'll be like the MMR vaccines or other vaccines where they protect you for life. We still, right, don't know if it's more like that or if people will need vaccines every year like the flu shot.
Right, and to some degree it depends on the makeup of the vaccine. Live virus vaccines like the MMR, they tend to produce very strong antibody responses in people that can last a lifetime. Other types of vaccines have other advantages, but may not produce that lifelong immunity, and you may need to give booster shots. And that's part of what the efficacy ongoing trials are aimed at looking at too. Is this a one-dose vaccine, or is it something where booster vaccines may be needed to keep up the protection?
Thank you. And my one last question is actually for Dr. Kumar. What is Hartford Healthcare's plan going forward, at least in the next couple weeks or months, in regards to antibody testing? I know that that's sort of the next test that some people are really looking forward to getting because they may have gotten sick really early in the pandemic, but they had very light symptoms. But I know it's not quite as mass-produced or available as maybe the diagnostic tests right now. So, what are the plans going forward in the next couple of weeks or months? Do you guys plan to expand that program?
So, as you know, the antibody testing is not an appropriate test for diagnosis of COVID-19. It's a measure of past infection or somebody who's been exposed to COVID-19. We are actually doing a large-scale research project at the moment of testing our employees and Hartford Healthcare colleagues across the system to see what the prevalence is while working in the state of Connecticut, and we're going to be checking the change, the conversion, the seroprevalence conversion over the time as well. So right now it remains a research study for us. There is no definite knowledge that the antibodies like this prevents a future infection. So these are not used for any other purpose at the moment, but it's a pure research project at the moment. Would we scale it beyond the colleagues of Hartford Healthcare? That will be determined by the result of the antibody study. And I think some of the studies we're looking forward to seeing whether all these antibodies are neutralizing antibodies or not, what titers are needed. There are a lot of questions still are unanswered on that front. So we have not made a decision about whether to expand it beyond as a research at the moment. And that's where for several, at least weeks, it'll remain there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Dr. Kumar, I just want to take a moment to say thank you so much for all of your dedication to this. It's been a crucial link, you and Tina, and reassuring when there's so much fear out there, and giving us some reasonable voices, calm and voices from the front line. It's been really important, and as much as I hope we don't have to meet again, I know that it will work when we do. So thank you very much for all of that.
Well, it's been our pleasure. Thank you. Tina, any other questions on the Facebook? Any comments? No? Very good. Well, I want to thank everybody again, and as mentioned earlier on, should the need arise, we will come back and we'll start talking about this and make sure that our community gets the right information and in a real time as close as possible, and we'll be available to answer any questions. And thank you very much for all the hard work you've been doing. I think the media also deserves a special praise for how you're communicating, how you presenting the information straight from the clinicians to the community, and I think that's been a wonderful additive. I think you played your role very well. Thank you so much.